Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be copying and cloning, more specifically hard drives. Have you ever wanted to upgrade that dinky hard drive in your system to something larger, but didn't know how you could do that? Or maybe do something wacky like take a VMware or VirtualBox hard drive that you're running virtually and actually restore it to an actual physical real hard drive and turn it into a real computer? Well, we can do that with the software today. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. I'm going to open up my web browser down here, and we are on the website of RescueZilla from RescueZilla.com. And what RescueZilla is, it's basically a graphical user interface or a bootable version of CloneZilla, which is a very powerful backup and imaging software. In addition, it's got some other nice things because it also has a partition manager built in, so we can actually repartition our drives right there, take care of everything in one step. Since RescueZilla boots, it has its own Linux image and it boots up, your entire system is offline, so there's no worries about copying files that they may be open or anything like that. It basically is a totally separate system that boots off of a USB drive. So let's go ahead and scroll down here. And right down there is download version 2.5.1, the current version as of this video being made. So we're just going to click on that. And the very first thing, it says download the live image. Again, this is going to boot up a live Linux image. It's specifically based on Ubuntu, and it's right now it's based on Noble. So let's go ahead and click on that, and we're going to download it. Let's go ahead and download to my downloads directory. This should not take too long here, but I'll go ahead and skip ahead. Alrighty, now we're back and we have downloaded RescueZilla. However, we'll need a program in order to burn it to our USB thumb drive that we're going to connect to the system. And to do that, I'm going to use Balena Etcher from balena.io. And if you go to balena.io, and again, links in the description down below, and you go under products, down here you'll find Balena Etcher, flash SD and USB drives. That's exactly what we want. And you just download it and then run it and it will install it. I already have it installed, and so we are ready to get going flashing that drive. I went ahead and I've inserted the drive in there. It's a 32 gig flash drive. They don't really specify exactly the size of the drive that you need under RescueZilla, but it's really small. I would think 4 gigs would be more than enough. So pretty much any modern flash drive should work for you. So let's go ahead and get going here with Balena Etcher. So I'll find that in my file system. It pops up right here. It says flash from a file. That's exactly what I want to do. Remember, I just downloaded RescueZilla, so we're going to click on that. It's in my downloads folder, and right there it is. So I'm going to go ahead and hit open, and then I'm going to select the target. And it's already kind of discovered that, hey, here's your USB drive in there, so it's already got that marked for me. So I'll go ahead and check that and hit selected, and now we're just going to hit flash. Depending on your speed of the drive, this may take a minute or so, so just be patient. We'll come back as soon as it's all done. Okay, so it's all formatted. Now Windows has ever helpfully popped up and says, hey, this is not a Windows formatted USB drive anymore. Should I go ahead and format it for you? As usual, Windows is totally unhelpful, so hit cancel on that. Do not format that drive. And we'll cancel again here because there's a couple of partitions, basically a couple of areas that it's built on there. Of course, Windows is complaining about all of them. But we are all done. We just hit cancel on both any of those prompts that pop up, and now we are ready to go. Now, if you don't know how to get into the BIOS on your PC, now's a good time to look it up. Basically, go Google, type in the name of your computer, and say, how to get to BIOS or whatever, and it's going to say, well, it's the, F12 key or the delete key or whatever key it might be. So go ahead and find that out now, and I'm going to show you my BIOS and how I have it set up. But now yours may look different, but you just have to kind of find the same areas. That almost any modern BIOS will have these same elements in it. You just have to kind of search around and make sure that you find the correct ones. So let's go ahead and reboot, and I'm going to hop into the BIOS and we'll take a look from there. All right, now we're back and in the BIOS. There's a couple of different areas that we need to take a look at it. The very first one in this BIOS is under security, and it's more particularly, we're going to come down here and we're going to take a look at secure boot. We want secure boot disabled because it's a special security thing that it would stop like an unrecognized hard drive from booting. However, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to boot from this new USB drive that we just created. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and you disable that. And also, we want to come over here, and you can either do this permanently or temporarily. Usually there is a boot order hotkey also. So instead of hitting delete, maybe you hit F7 or something like that, and it will pop up and allow you to select dynamically which drive to boot from. However, if you don't want to do that, you can actually go in there and change the boot order permanently, so it'll save it and will always, for instance, favor USB drives, over the actual hard drive, stuff like that. Okay, so once you go ahead and either change it here or press the boot order hotkey whenever it's booting up and select the USB drive, then we're all ready to go. So I'm just go ahead and save these changes and reset, and we should boot into RescueZilla. And here we are in RescueZilla. Very first thing we want to do is pick our language. You can either wait for the timeout, but I'm going to hit enter. And here's the default start RescueZilla. Now, if you have issues, especially with the graphics or whatever, you can go into the graphical fallback mode, the second menu item, but generally the first one will work fine for most folks. Okay, so here we are in RescueZilla, and it's popped up to the main interface. Now, it's also got a few other pop-ups here. One is for Network Manager. I'm going to say don't show that again. There's no need to connect to the internet here. It's also saying low battery because I think it thinks this is a laptop, but it's not a laptop, so don't worry about that either. So here's the basic interface, and it's really simple. We've got backup and we've got restore, and we also have something down here called clone. So we're going to take a look at kind of each one of these briefly at least. Now, the backup copies an exact image, a bit for bit copy of your hard drive that you select and all the different partitions in that hard drive, all the different sections of it, to a external storage device or even an internal storage device. If you have another hard drive inside this system, you can do that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and connect a large external USB hard drive, and we're going to restore, or back up rather, to that. Okay, so besides my RescueZilla thumb drive, I've also plugged in an external hard drive that I know has enough free space in order to back up my internal drive. So let's go ahead and go through the backup procedure. And I actually recommend that you do this first, just in case when you do the clone, something goes wrong. Just to make double sure, we're going to go ahead and do a backup to very start here, just to make sure that we can always restore it if we had to. So I'm just going to click on backup. It's going to identify all the drives. That's why it's important to plug in your external hard drives first. Now, our booting the Windows hard drive right now is this 500 gig, roughly, Samsung drive right here. And we have a couple of 2 terabyte drives. Now, they're not being used in the system right now, but that's exactly what I'm going to clone to in the future. However, right now, what I want to do is back up my current Windows installation, which is on this Samsung 500 gig hard drive, to this SanDisk Extreme external hard drive right here. So the very first step is to select a drive to back up, which is going to be our Windows drive with this guy right here for me. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click next. Now, it asks you to select the partitions. Generally, leave all of them checked. So it's basically going to back up everything. There's really no good reason for most folks not to just back up everything. And we're just going to click next. And here's where the destination drive is selected. And again, I'm going to go ahead and select that 1 terabyte external SSD that I have right there. So that's where it's going to back up to. This is going to create a file on that drive, by the way. It's not going to erase the drive. It's simply going to create a subdirectory and put a bunch of files in there. We're going to click next. There we go. It's asking me where I want to go ahead and store that. If you want to change that destination folder, you can, but I'm just going to leave it the same and it's going to hit next. Here we get to actually modify the name. So I'm going to go ahead and call this my Windows Drive Backup. So I'll go ahead and add the word Windows there so I know what it's for. And we're going to click Next. Generally don't change any of this unless you have a very specific reason. It's basically going to compress the files and is already kind of pre-selected a kind of a medium grade thing between you know, the speed of the compression and stuff like that. So just skip this basically. And it's just kind of a recapping exactly what we're going to do. Here, the source drive is that 500 gig Samsung drive that has my Windows installation on it. Here's all the different partitions, which is basically all of them. We're doing, again, this zip compression. You don't have to worry about any of that. And then here's the folder it's going to be written to on my SanDisk Extreme external hard drive. So we're just going to hit Next. And now it's going to start the actual process. Now this will probably take about 5 to 7 minutes on this computer, so we'll just come back whenever it's all done. Alrighty, so we're all done. It's copied. It took about 8 minutes, it looks like. And we are ready to hit the next button and go ahead to our next step. Now, just really quickly, I'm not going to actually do a restore, but I just want to kind of show you some of the features of the restore. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. It's going to kind of identify all the different hard drives that are attached, just like before. And this is the first step is select the image location. Again, this is the backup image. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is select that SanDisk Extreme. Now there's a couple of different things we could do with that. First of all, there's already a couple of backups actually that I've made. I did one earlier. And then there's also some VirtualBox hard drives. Basically, these are, if you run a VM or whatever, which is basically a pretend computer inside your computer, part of that process is to set up a hard drive for this pretend computer. You can actually take those and actually restore them back to a physical hard drive and actually go from a virtual system to an actual physical computer. So let me just kind of show you that real quick. It's going to go ahead and mount up my SanDisk here. Now it's actually found, of course, that backup that we just did. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit Browse here, and we've got some different things out here. So we go ahead and select this folder here, and right there is a VirtualBox disk that it's ready to restore to one of our hard drives. Of course, again, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and we'll just hit back here until we get back to the main window. So the other function that this does is clone. This is actually going to copy one hard drive onto another hard drive, and then I'm going to show you how to expand the partitions and everything to fill up the additional space. So we've got this 500 gig hard drive, but I have a 2 terabyte hard drive in there, and I want to go ahead and I want to put this hard drive onto the 2 terabyte hard drive and go ahead and expand the partitions out so it'll be a 2 terabyte drive whenever this machine is booted. So let's go ahead and do that. We are going to go select clone, and it talks a little bit about what cloning is and how it works. We're just going to skip that. Again, it's going to scan those hard drives. And right here is a 500 gig Windows hard drive. Now, again, this could be a Linux partition or anything else, really. It really doesn't really matter what it is. But in this case, it is Windows. So that is our source drive. That's where we're going to copy from. So we're going to hit Next. And here's where we want to go to the destination drive. And I'm going to select this very first SanDisk Extreme here, 2 terabyte drive right there. And we're just going to hit Next. Again, we're going to copy all the partitions. I highly recommend that you don't change anything on this screen because you're trying to make an exact clone. And so you want to have all the options checked to do that. So let's go ahead and hit Next. Again, it's kind of got the summary here. But let's go ahead and just hit go. Of course, one last prompt. Are you sure you want to do this? Because it's going to overwrite everything on that destination drive, that 2 terabyte drive. Now, unlike the backup, which just copied a few files to my external SSD, this is actually going to completely wipe out that 2 terabyte drive. Now, right now, there's absolutely nothing on that 2 terabyte drive, so that's absolutely fine. But this is what it's warning you about. So just be aware that your destination for a clone is going to be deleted and become basically an exact copy of the original. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, and we'll get this process started. Now, this will take about 2 minutes, so we'll be back whenever the 2 minutes is up. Alrighty, so we're all done. I'm just going to hit OK on that, have the summary, and then click Next. And our cloning is complete. So we are actually going to go ahead and repartition the hard drive now to take full advantage of those 2 terabytes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to actually close this window, because this is actually just a window running on top of a Linux desktop. And here's the Linux desktop. Right over here is a program called gparted, and it is a partition manager. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on that. And right now it's selected and showing me one hard drive, and that is that 500 gig Windows original hard drive. It's still inside the computer. I haven't done anything to it yet, so it's right there. I'm going to drop this down though, and I'm going to select one of the 2 terabyte drives, and this is the one that we've cloned to right here. So we got you know, the original 500 gig space right there, and we have all this unallocated space. So what I want to do is I want to use up that unallocated space, right? So I'm going to kind of come down here to where the Windows NTFS Windows partition is, which is the biggest one, by the way. Notice that's gigabytes. These are megabytes. Okay. And I am going to use this button right here to move or resize it. Well, normally when you resize something like this, what you do is you grab this little handle and you drag it over, and it makes the partition bigger, but I can't do that here. Why is that? Well, the reason why is because this guy right here, this recovery partition, which is that little block right there, is preventing me from making this any bigger, because it's sitting there and it would have to be moved in order for me to, you know, fill out the rest of the space. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to move this partition. So I am going to hit the move and resize. Now, I could drag it out and resize it. I do not want to do that though. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click right in the middle, and I'm just going to drag it all the way to the end of the hard drive. Okay, now again, I did not resize it. I grabbed in the middle part and drug it over, so now it's in a new location, not a different size. Then we're going to click move and resize. Okay, and of course it warns you that, you know, this is kind of a dangerous operation. That's why we made that backup a little while ago. So I'm going to hit OK. And by the way, you can use this little checkbox here to go ahead and apply the operations. After you do each step, I would go ahead and hit apply, just to make sure everything works. Okay, so now if you look at it, we have our main Windows partition right here. Remember, it's the roughly 500 gig one. But notice now that our recovery partition is way at the end, and then in the middle we have all this unallocated space. Now when we click on the Windows partition and we hit resize, now look, I can grab this handle here at the end and actually make it bigger. In fact, I want to go ahead and fill up all of the space, and I'm going to hit move and resize, and we're going to hit that little apply checkbox again and hit apply. This may take just a second here. There we go. Hit close. All right. So now we've completed the process. We basically have a 1.82 terabyte Windows partition now, or Windows hard drive, basically. So what I'm going to do now is very important. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shut down this RescueZilla. I am going to power off the computer. I'm going to remove that older, smaller hard drive, and then we're going to reboot. So I'm going to go ahead and close this program down, and then I'm going to hit the little button down here, and we are going to select shutdown, and I'm going to shut down computer. Again, I'm going to shut it down, unplug it from power, just to be double safe, and then I'm going to open it up and remove that old hard drive. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, I shut down the PC, I unplugged all the power, I opened it up, I removed that old 500 gig Windows hard drive, so now we only have the 2 terabyte hard drive still installed. And let's go ahead and press the power button and see if it boots up. Again, I've removed all of the USB drives that were attached earlier, so we're just should boot directly into Windows. And while that's booting up, I just wanted to mention, if you don't have an extra place to put a hard drive inside your system that you want to clone to, what you can do is fairly inexpensively get a hard drive caddy that plugs into USB. You basically put the hard drive into that temporarily, plug it in USB, you clone to that, do all the steps we just did, and then you go ahead and you can take it out and actually install it inside the PC as a replacement for your smaller hard drive. Well, we're already booted up. Let's go ahead and log in. Give it just a minute here to settle. And there we go. It's all booted up. And if we take a look at our hard drive situation, well, look at there. We've got our C drive and 1.81 terabytes. In other words, our new 2 terabyte drives. Everything's been copied over, booted up immediately, and we are good to continue using our computer with this new expanded hard drive. Well, I certainly hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please check that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you really, really like the content. And you got to see what I think's one of the best utilities out there, which is RescueZilla, because it can backup, it can restore, it can clone, it can even take virtual drives and make them into actual physical PCs, which I just think is magic. Anyway, that's it for the video. I certainly hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you next time.